Hey, this is Cameron, and welcome to the practice log. Alright, well, we got a lot of stuff to do today, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Shall we? Whoa! Jumping into it. Let's do it. We're gonna sit in the chair. Sorry about that. I'd like to start this off by apologizing for that intro. That was a bit much. I don't mean to freak you out in the beginning of these things, but we are just gonna go ahead and jump into it. I'm gonna get to practicing and stuff. Actually, we're not gonna jump right into it. We're gonna chill. So I was having this thought when I was working on Recuerdos. It was Saturday morning, and I was just in my bed, like sitting up on my bed playing it while listening to like crappy TV, not really paying much attention to it. And I was finding that in the places that I had really solid, like the first third of Recuerdos, which I know very well, because you know, like it's not that hard, the left hand. Recuerdos isn't that hard, guys. If you think it's hard, you suck. I'm just kidding, that's not true. It's a hard piece, but you know, like I have the first third like memorized very well. And here we go, I'm gonna start like making stuff up again as I usually do. We don't like to admit it to ourselves, I think, but tension is required to do anything. Now you can minimize this tension, of course, but you do have to use some sort of tension to move your physical self through space. It's just required, and that makes sense, right? You want to play with no tension, of course, but there is going to be some level of tension. Now, it's the amount of tension that's really important. I think that you can minimize the time you spend with tension. Like, for example, like when you play, instead of keeping your hand like tense, even bringing it to the string, you can relax your hand and tense for a moment just to play and then immediately relax again. And same thing with your left hand. You can bring your hand to the string and push only using this tendon here, almost as if your fingers are like puppets, just like one movement, and then you can release right as you need to. And there's a minimum amount of tension that you can use for any given like task that you're performing. Now, you can actually play with zero tension. How do you do that? That is visualization. If you can visualize through a piece that you're working on, just like in your mind, obviously, that's what visualization is, where you're not actually doing anything in the physical world, you're playing with zero tension. And it's funny because you're playing with the least amount of effort, but I find that that's also the hardest for us to do. And I don't know why exactly. Maybe we attach memories to certain amounts of tension. Like, sort of like we attach memories to smell. Like, we don't do it on purpose, like it's all subconscious, but we attach memories to actions that we do. It's like, maybe that's what we call muscle memory, which muscle memory is like a very, like, I don't even know what that means, honestly. Like, it's a term that we all say, but your muscles don't actually hold memory, of course. Like, all your memories are in your brain. So maybe it's just the tension that sort of serves as a reminder what's going to happen next. And it's not so much you knowing the notes, but it's just you remembering how your fingers would tense up in certain ways and form certain shapes on the fretboard that way. And you know, that's a way to memorize things. It's like generally accepted that it's not a good way to memorize things, but it is what we do sometimes. If you memorize things that way, I think you're gonna find it really hard to play a piece with zero tension just through visualization, because you no longer get the tension to serve as the reminder of what notes come next. You actually just have to know what notes come next. Is that not what you want to have for your music that you're playing? Do you really want to rely on cues from certain amounts of tension? Because what if that amount of tension that you're applying is unnecessary and you change it? Oh, and you're trying to play with less tension now. Now your memory of the piece is gone. Do I sound crazy right now? I'm just kind of like talking. This is just stuff that I've been thinking about. You shouldn't rely on the feelings of your muscles, because obviously as you grow as a musician, you're going to refine your movements, and you can't refine them if it's the very movements that you're using as a basis of memory. Okay. Moving on. When you have a piece, like let's say for me, the second section of Recuerdos that I don't know quite as well, I find that because I don't know it quite as well, I'm sort of throwing extra tension at it. Tension that might be superfluous, SAT word. Tension that might be unnecessary, but I'm just sort of throwing the kitchen sink at the piece that I'm trying to play to get the notes to come out. And because I don't know the music very well, I don't actually know the precise amount of tension needed to play the music, because I'm not even really sure what the music is, like sometimes, so I just kind of put more tension than I think I might need, and it covers it, and it sounds good, but now my hand is hurting, and I'm learning how to play this piece with my hand hurting. That's not good. How many of us are guilty of that? All of us. All of you, raise your hand. Raise your damaged hands. Repetitive strain injury merch dropping soon. So what's the solution to this? And this might seem obvious. Playing an amount of the music that's so small that you can actually memorize it in the moment, and then working with the appropriate amount of tension for that music very slowly. So for example, like one measure of a new part of Recuerdos, take time to find the actual appropriate amount of tension I need to play that measure. properly. I think we get in trouble a lot where we just kind of read through stuff over and over again, and you're just sort of using an amount of tension that is just like more than adequate, and we don't want to use extra tension, like obviously, because that's going to lead to injury, or it'll lead to like injury faster. I don't know, who's to say that like maybe even for some pieces the minimum amount of required tension is still going to lead to injury just because it's so intensive, but certainly that's better than using extra tension for a passage like that, right? It has to be. Say that you have a passage that does require an amount of tension that is like damaging over time, like if you repeatedly do it, that is a really good use case for the zero tension practice that I'm talking about, just visualizing. I know a lot of you are like the older crowd, but like been playing guitar for like 30 years or whatever, maybe on off, like I don't know. But I would bet that some of you probably have gone your entire guitar career without ever memorizing a passage away from the guitar and then going to it without the music and just thinking of what you memorized and then playing it. So you should try that out. You can do it with like an easy passage too, like Soar Opus 60, like any piece you haven't looked at there. Just take a few minutes to just read through just like the first measure or so, or the first passage, first 8 measures. You know, see how that goes. It is a skill that you have to practice. One that I haven't practiced nearly enough. I definitely prefer playing the music with extra tension just because it's so much fun to just hear the music already. But it is just that. The only real benefit is that it's more fun. Visualizing stuff kind of sucks, especially when you're not that great at it. I always say this, you sort of have 2 guitars that you play. You have your physical guitar that's in the world, and then you have the guitar that's in your mind. A lot of us don't play that guitar very much. You want to dust that guitar off and try it out. And I said like Soar Opus 60 is a good place to start with that. Scales, of course. That's kind of the whole point of scales. I look at scales as pieces of music that you memorize that serve as the foundation of all the music that you play going forward. It's the stuff that you're never supposed to forget as long as you're a musician, and whenever you need to learn something new or like refine a technique, you always take it back to those scales or like pieces and you practice it there. It's your foundation. So visualizing through scales can be really helpful just to start you off with visualizing, because you should know scales better than any piece of music, ideally. So like think through those in your mind. And the way I like to think through them is through fingerings, like 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. Just like thinking through it and then like imagining it. I find that imagining the fingerings is pretty sufficient, unless you're just throwing out random finger numbers. Like you shouldn't ever be guessing when you're doing this. Like you should be able to see it clearly. And if you can't, start smaller. Like just start with the first 3 notes and like think through the fingerings that way. But if you say the correct fingers, it means that you're probably comfortably visualizing the thing. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say today. We're going to work on Morel. I might end up working on the fugue a little bit. We'll see. I will see you in the piano bench now. Boom, we're done. All right, back to the old ghastly grind. I'm gonna work on the Morel Sonatina a bit. Might start with a bit of Requerdus, you know? I'll see you on the other side. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna bring you closer. We're just gonna jump right into it. Black screen. good takes allowed on sore hands. There's got to be something. I think I've talked enough to you. It's getting late. I have to teach in 30 minutes. It's a Monday for me. You know who you are at that time. Hey, what's up? How's it going? Hope you enjoyed the presto. Alright. I'll see you in the outro. Hey, well, you know, if you made it this far, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. And hey, want to buy some shirts? I know I'm not wearing one right now, but it's that one. New shirts coming real soon, waiting in the mail, as you guys know. And of course, guitar lessons, as I mentioned. I offer those, so feel free to sign up for those if you want. Email in the description, of course. And yeah, I mean, got any questions about anything? Anything I talked about today? Or new questions? It doesn't matter. I'll answer it at some point, so feel free to leave those. Alright, I need to get my day started. So, I'll see you later.